Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Madam 81. I'm coming back with you again. Um, Today I want to talk about the three black churches in Louisiana that were burned down. One, March 26th at St. Mary's Baptist Church. April 2nd, Greater Union Baptist Church. And April 4th, Mount Pleasant Baptist Church. But before I get into that and show the clips of that, I want to bring awareness of a pattern starting back from the 19th century on to present day. Um, it is not a thing that happens every once in a blue moon. This is something that has happened historically to black churches all over the United States. Um, United States have taken the form again of arson, bombings, and mass murder, hate crimes, and white supremacists propel domestic terrorism. The timeline that I am going to show documents the acts of violence against churches, black leadership, and congregations. Starting from the 19th century, 1822, Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston, South Carolina was burned down. In the 20th century, 1921, May 31st, 1921, Black Wall Street Church bombed in Tuscaloosa, Oklahoma. From 1951 to 1960, and October 5th, 1955, burning of St. James AME Church in Lake City, South Carolina. December 25th, Bethel Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama was bombed. And April 28th, in 1957, Allen Temple African Methodist Episcopal Church in Bessemer, Alabama, was bombed. It exploded. It had dynamite at the rear of the church during even services. June 29th, 1958, Bethel Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama was bombed again. This time, guards removed the bombs to a ditch. The blast blew out all the windows, however. Okay, then we're going to go down the timeline. 1961 to 1970. January 16th, 1962, New Baptist Church, St. Luke's African American Methodist Episcopal Church, and Trumpet Church, Kingdom of God, and Christ, all three in Birmingham, Alabama, were firebombed. September 25th, 1962, St. Matthew's Baptist Church in Macon, Georgia, was burned. It was the fifth church to burn in a month. December 14th, 1962, at Bethel Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama, a third bomb blew out the church's windows. August 10th, 1963, St. James United Methodist Church of Birmingham, Alabama was destroyed by a gasoline firebomb. September 15th, 1963, 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama was bombed during a Sunday church service. 22 people were injured and 4 girls died. And that's the one that's most notably talked about. And there was also a movie as well that was done on that specific church bombing. June 16th, 1964, Mount Zion Methodist Church in Lawndale, Mississippi was burned to the ground. An investigation by the Mississippi civil rights workers led to the murders of Chancey Goldman, and Swashiga. I'm sorry if I butchered their name. My apologies. Okay, now we're going to go from 1971 to 1980. 1972, Cartersville Baptist Church in Reston, Virginia was burned, causing the main church to fall into the basement. June 30th, 1974, at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia, Alberta Williams King, mother of Martin Luther King Jr., and the Edward Boykin was killed by a man who had determined that black ministers were a menace to black people. A third churchgoer was wounded. December 18th, 1977, Zola Methodist Church, Marbury Baptist in Wilkins County, Georgia, Mount Zion my apologies, y'all, Baptist Church, Lincoln County, Georgia. 3 teens were found guilty in the burning of 4 black churches in Wilkins and Lincoln counties. December 16th, 1979, Second Wilson Church of Chester, South Carolina, a meeting place for civil rights activists, was gutted by fire. And the list goes on and on. And the list goes on and on. And this is the thing. I'm not a person of the church. I haven't been for a long time. But this is just another way for people to have domestic terrorism against people of color. People that probably haven't did any wrong to them. The 3 current cases in the Louisiana church fires that were the churches were burned down in the span of 10 days was done by a sheriff's deputy's son. I am going to play the clips on that. I have clips from the Daily Mail. I have clips from Rock Feed. I also have clips from WZDX News. And I also have the closing thoughts. Shout out to Mr.Maxxx. That's Mr.Maxxx with 3 X's. He pretty much sums up my thoughts and feelings about the whole thing. So with that being said, I would love to hear everyone's opinion, regardless if you're a churchgoer or not. I'm not a churchgoer, but I just think that it's sad that people will commit crimes just because they don't like a person for the color of their skin. And you have to remember, going back in history, this is the religion that they gave us. You know, once they stripped away our traditions and our religion, and what they demonized as witchcraft or improper or, you know, Satan's work, they gave us this religion, and they in most cases they won't even allow the religion that they gave us. They won't even allow the people to practice it in peace. So please sound off in the comments. I would love to hear what you have to say. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. As always, I bring random topics, random thoughts, and random things from around the world. So thank you for watching, and here comes the clips.
Just how far back did the institution of the American Black Church go? Well, it all started in the 16th century when Portuguese conquerors introduced Catholicism to West Africa. The religion took root in West African culture and consequently arrived in the southern states of the American Union through the slave trade. In southern states, many slave owners exposed displaced African slaves to the Methodist and Baptist faiths in an attempt to convert them. To an extent, those attempts were successful. Black ministers in America began to preach to their own people, resonating particularly with tales depicted in the Book of Exodus, which details a people's liberation from oppression by a powerful God. These sermons gradually gained more attention, and Black churches began to form in the late 18th century. Even Austin, Texas, saw the rise of such churches with the establishment of Ebenezer Baptist by former slaves.
The history of the Black church in America is a long and sometimes a sordid. From the beginning of their journey in America, the children of Africa have had to face horrendous atrocities, but all along the way they have taken everything thrown at them in dignity, not only surviving, but thriving and changing the face of American culture along the way. And religion is no different. From the moment the first Africans arrived on American soil in 1619 in modern-day Virginia, Africans were confronted with a new religion called Christianity, which many of them had never experienced before. This strange new religion with a tame and sometimes disappassionate worship style was a mystery to many, and as a result, many first-generation Africans held to their indigenous ancestral religions until death. But within 3 generations, many enslaved Africans and freedmen alike began to embrace the dominant religion of the land, especially through the large revivals known as the First and Second Great Awakenings. During these Great Awakenings, large portions of American Christianity pulled away from the ritual and quiet ceremony of Anglicanism and began to emphasize powerful charismatic preaching and the call to personal relationship with Jesus Christ, the Jesus Christ who reminded many former Africans of some of the powerful deities of their historic religions. Conversions to Christianity became a major trend here in the 1700s, not only due to the revivals, but largely through the fiery preaching of traveling slave and freedmen preachers throughout the South. As such, for more than a century, an invisible institution existed among Africans who gathered together under the cover of darkness, down in brush arbors and secret clearings, away from the watchful eye and the ear of their white counterparts. Even as small numbers of Black Christians began to join white churches in the few places where they were allowed, Black believers still gathered regularly in secret, worshiping and singing and shouting in their own way. But after more than a century and a half of worshiping in the invisible institution, several Black communities began during the last decade of the 1700s to form their own churches. As rigid white supremacist rhetoric took root more and more in and out of the churches, racism amped up in the North and the South. As folks looking to secure the racialized chattel slave system strengthened rhetoric about Black inferiority, any intermixing of Blacks and whites and any space of equal treatment of Blacks had to be done away with, even in the house of God. This type of sick thinking is best exhibited by a popular pamphlet entitled Slavery Defended from Scripture, which was published by the prominent Methodist preacher Alexander McCain. As Black members of white churches across the North began to be more systematically mistreated and at some points even disfellowshipped from their churches, Black worshipers started to pool resources and to build their own congregations. Sometimes these churches formed from split from white churches, and sometimes they formed as prayer bands gathered together into official public communities of faith. By the turn of the 18th century, independent Black churches began to turn up all throughout the nation, including right here in Brooklyn, several of which we will learn more about in the weeks to come. Across denomination, across geography, and across socioeconomic status, blacks in America began to descend out from under the shadows of the brush arbors and to build their own churches which rivaled the strongest churches in American society. Churches that began to focus with laser-like precision on remedying the plight of free and enslaved blacks through education, social services, community banking, and political organizing, specifically against the greatest evil of their day, the chattel slavery system.
Certainly, these fires are suspicious. We're treating them as they are suspicious. We treat them like a crime scene from the beginning as we gain information. There's much question about the relation. There's no coincidence that 3 fires occurred in this short period of time in this parish. So everything is being done to the maximum of our ability. Right now, we're doing some secondary searches, if you will, some secondary investigative techniques, and it's going to involve the investigative team, which will include the Fire Marshal's Office and ATF, to come out and do additional scientific analysis. So that those things will occur over the next few days. This is inconceivable. When you look at these churches, places like this of worship are not just a building of God. These are buildings that people worship in on a regular basis, but there's been weddings here, there's been funerals here, there's been children who are raised here. And I take that very seriously, and we immediately reached out to the community. We got a tremendous amount of community support to try and put the word out. We know people have seen something.
You don't just all of a sudden, within that short span of time, have 3 churches to burn like that. So you gotta know somebody that's perfectly being done. You thinking about now the other people who churches are still standing. What we gotta do to keep those churches up and keep somebody from destroying those churches. Ours has already been destroyed. And so we're thinking about not just ourselves, but about other churches. We don't want this to continue to happen to somebody else.
Fire destroys 3 historically black churches in Louisiana over 10 days, and now investigators are trying to determine if they're related. As Meredith reports, church leaders are not losing faith.
I'm very concerned, but I'm very optimistic because God, our faith is in God.
3 historic churches, all destroyed by fire in less than 2 weeks, now seeking answers.
We believe it's suspicious. We're certainly treating these fires from the beginning as crime scenes.
The churches have predominantly African American congregations. Louisiana State Fire Marshal, alongside federal and local agencies, are investigating the cause of the fires. Officials haven't said if they're related.
However, we're very cognizant that there is a problem, and there is no coincidence that there are 3 fires.
The first at St. Mary Baptist Church on March 26th. Then, on April 2nd, a fire destroyed Greater Union Baptist Church. Just 2 days later, a 3rd fire destroyed Mount Pleasant Baptist Church on April 4th. Church leaders say their faith won't be rocked and services will go on.
Do I want to be this at this point? No, I would rather not. But this is God's plan. He allowed it. And I believe He brought me here. He's going to bring me through this.
Each of the churches has made temporary arrangements in other buildings. I'm Meredith Wood reporting.
Louisiana has been charged with setting fires at historically black churches. This story is out of control. The churches had been set on fire. The stories had been coming out little by little, and there was this big question as to who was behind it. And again, it turns out it's the son of a sheriff's deputy. In a press conference, St. Landry Parish Sheriff Bobby Goudreau said that the report was incorrect because initially it was reported that he had turned his son in, but that is not the case. Goudreau said the suspect's father, quote, helped facilitate the arrest. He got the suspect away from home and had, quote, no knowledge of his son's activities. So while he didn't know that his son was doing this, once he did figure it out, he did help in the arrest of his own son, and I wanted to point that out to you. So the sheriff's deputy here is not a bad person, it's just crazy that the son of a sheriff's deputy did this. Also, he's been charged with 3 counts of simple arson of a religious building. The maximum penalty for each count is 15 years in prison. And Holden Matthews is the name of the suspect here.
Another racist right-winger does attacks in America.
To be fair, I don't know what his political ideology
he burned down black churches.
I know. I mean,
he's not local.
No.
Okay. So Anna's doing the right thing by saying technically we don't know. Okay. But
it is the right thing. He might have absolutely no political ideology at all.
He might just be racist,
Yeah.
but not care about politics.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we don't know what he identifies as, so I don't want to needlessly call him anything. You know what I'm saying? He's a terrible person, and he set these churches on fire. Luckily, there was no one in the churches at the time that he did this, so no one was hurt. And luckily, he got caught, and he will face, the consequences for this.
Will you agree with me that if he was Muslim, we'd already be calling him a terrorist?
Of course, we wouldn't be calling him a terrorist, right? But everyone would be calling him a terrorist, and of course there would be all sorts of speculation as to what his background is.
Right. So again, there are no progressives burning down black churches. That's not a thing. So maybe he just randomly hates black people and is super racist, but has no other political opinions. Theoretically possible.
Like he's in a band, heavy metal band, and I don't know. We don't know anything about his politics. That's all I'm saying, right?
Okay, so, I hear you, and we're doing the show together, so you're getting all that both perspectives. She's giving you the facts. I'm giving you my perspective on it. So anyway, thank God they caught him. I want to give a little bit more credit. Not only to the dad who helped facilitate the arrest, obviously he also wants to make sure his son doesn't get hurt while getting arrested, but mainly to the authorities that looked into this and found the culprit.
Yes.
So what we're mainly concerned about is systemic racism and whether there is injustice by the government, because that's our government and there's something we can do about it. In this case, that didn't happen. So there was not systemic racism. There was a racism with a guy who did it, unless, again, there is one other 1% possibility. And he's like, man, it'd be so cool to burn down churches, and golly, gee, I accidentally did 3 black ones I didn't know, right? Theoretically possible, not likely, but either way, the authorities didn't do anything wrong. They did everything right. They found the guy, they arrested the guy, even though he was the son of someone in some degree of power at the sheriff's office. So
3 black churches across the parish.
The suspect is Holden Matthews. He is 21 years old and the son of a St. Landry Parish deputy. Tonight, he is being held at the St. Landry Parish Jail, and that's where we find Justice Henderson. Justice, any word from the pastors or churchgoers tonight?
Holden Matthews was being held here at the St. Landry Parish Jail. He was taken into custody just before 5:30 today. Now, multiple law enforcement sources confirmed he is the suspect of the 3 arsons at black churches across the parish. We went to his family's home earlier this evening. Someone there confirms Matthew did live there, but they declined any further comment. The fires happened on March 26th at St. Mary Baptist Church, April 2nd at Greater Union Baptist Church, and April 4th at Mount Pleasant Baptist Church. Tonight, people who go to those churches are relieved that the suspect is in jail.
I was kind of exhilarate, like happy that they had caught somebody. And then I started having emotions like, did they get everybody? Or, who would do something like that to a church?
It's time to rebuild. It's time for healing. It's time for strengthening of our congregation and our families. And now we can go forward. We have some information. It may not be all of the information, but at least we can move forward.
The State Fire Marshal will hold a press conference here in St. Landry Parish tomorrow at 10 a.m. Governor John Bell Edwards, along with other agencies, will be here at the press conference. Reading the street live in Opelousas, Justice Henderson,
Look at the suspect, Holden Matthews. We looked at court records. There is no record he's ever been arrested in St. Landry Parish.
Congressman Clay Higgins, who posted a Crime Stopper-esque video about the investigation, released a statement to KATC tonight about the arrest. The congressman says he's uplifted by the Christian community, proud of investigators, and hopes this is a step
in which a black metal musician has been arrested and charged in connection with multiple church burnings in the southern state. Local station KATC is reporting that 3 churches in rural St. Landry Parish were burned down in late March and earlier this month.
The fires happened on March 26th at St. Mary Baptist Church, April 2nd at Greater Union Baptist Church, and April 4th at Mount Pleasant Baptist Church.
They also note that Matthews is the son of a local sheriff's deputy, and his family declined to comment. Now, a report from the Daily Beast noted that an arrest warrant reportedly showed that officials connected Matthews to the crimes through the charred remains of a brand of gas can found at the scene of the April 4th fire. Matthews allegedly used his debit card and ID to purchase that same brand of a gas can, along with a lighter and a 10-pack of automotive shop towels on March 25th. Now, an FBI agent declined to comment on whether or not these attacks were potentially bias motivated, given that 3 of the churches that were targeted were predominantly African-American congregations. Now, the Daily Beast also reports that they located social media accounts believed to be attached to the suspect, in which he had commented on at least 2 memes featuring Varg Vikernes, and was also said to have uploaded a photo of a gun and a knife with the caption, "I carry this, maybe not legally, but I only truly follow the law of Odin," which says, as you said, arm yourself. Odin's advice is greater than modern law. Now, Holden Matthews, the suspect in this case, had also commented on a swastika-like design on a belt and a drawing of a pagan figure. They said the comment read, "The belt gives him extra strength and power, white power, LMAO, just kidding, I had to." And while U.S. Attorney David Joseph hadn't given a specific motive, he did refer to setting the fires as despicable acts. Of course, it's unfortunate because this situation could cast a negative light on metalheads, and there are always those who are looking to make negative associations between heavy metal and black metal and then this type of behavior. And to some degree, there is somewhat of a negative light on black metal. You look at the comments on any social media post and you can see a lot of people who are somewhat supportive or glorify this type of behavior, which is absolutely
Black churches in Louisiana that have been burnt down. And of course I got my theories, because the first thing you think of was Ku Klux Klan, Jim Crowism, Charlottesville. I mean, come on now. Apple and far from the tree. This is in the very south. I mean, the lynching, the hateful, you got this Trump, this nigga, all this garbage going on. This ain't no fault of wine. This is straight lynching. You know, it's like one of those things that you just expect it to happen. Because every now and then, when it seems like the tide is straight, these sort of things happen. Sometimes you be in this country so long, you just kind of got an idea of what's up. You don't even have to think twice. You pretty much can establish in your mind that it's inevitable that they're going to do something like this, because the cowards, the racism that is real here in America happens all the time, where you just expect it to be the norm. That's what you expect. You expect it to be a situation where it's just going to jump off and that's what's going to happen. So, you know, it's kind of like pause for the cause, the reality. 3 historical black churches, you know. Things don't happen by accident. When's the last time you heard about 3 historical white churches that got bombed? You know, think about it. This has happened in America. It's part of the American history of racism passed down like a recipe for mental and psychological destruction. It's the kind of thing that you just know it's inevitable. The racism is, you know, Jim Crow never left. He has grandchildren, great-grandchildren now who are the upstairs of white privilege. And people know. People know. You know, when you see what happened in Charlottesville, which was in 2017, less than 2 years ago, we expect this. It's like that white girl who shouted at church in Carolina. You expect it. I mean, that's just kind of like how it's part of the course. You know, that's, you know, I don't ever be proven wrong about these sort of things. However, they bear their fruit. They bear their fruit. Racism is very much alive and well in America and the South. And, you know, you just had that situation with that Louisiana sheriff sergeant guy who had that mime about
you know, killing, you know, about the girl because she was, first crush was a black person, and that whole thing. So were you really surprised about these small places in a notoriously racist place? Are you really shocked or surprised? You can't be. We'll do the investigation, but all it ain't really fine, you know, think about it. I mean, this has been part of the Southern law forever and a day. Burning churches, burning crosses, and lynching. That's how we look at black folks in America. And until people stop being denial and get over their mental illness, these things are really relevant, and they're not going anywhere. That's what's up. So I'm very sorry about the historical black churches burning, getting robbed in America, but I'm not shocked or surprised. No. The racism is real. It's real. Those are my comments about this particular topic. The black churches that are burned down. Feel free to comment.